Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We from Group 7 would like to present our slide presentation about roadwork. Roads play a critical role in economic development and growth, as well as providing significant social benefits. They are critical to a country's growth and development, which provide access to employment, social, health, and education services, connect more people and places, promoting economic and social development. As a result, road infrastructure is the most valuable of all public assets. So in this video, a detailed information of roadworks, including the component of each element, the cost for every works, and example of your will be discussed. Now we move to the component within the elements of roadworks. So different road components play an important role in ensuring a road safety and service life. So as you can see here, there are five major components within the element of roadworks. So first is road surface, slope and returning structure. Next is drainage. Next is bridge and other structures. And lastly is traffic or road furniture. The first component is road surface. So the road surface is the most important component in assessing the quality of completed roadworks because it is in direct contact with the road users. So the elements can be divided into three, which is carriageway, shoulder and verge, and median. Carriageway is made up of a number of traffic lanes and any associated shoulders, but it can also be a single lane in width. And there are two types of carriageway, which is single and dual carriageway. So for shoulder and verge, it is an emergency stopping lane on the other side of a road or highway. So shoulders are primary objective are to accommodate stop vehicles, serve as an emergency lane for vehicles. And for median, they are a physical or painted barrier that separates two roads, mostly used to distinguish vehicles based on their speed. It is beneficial to pedestrians because they can provide a safe even for pedestrians crossing a street in the middle of a block or at intersection. Now we move to the third component of roadwork, which is slope and returning structure. So this component is divided into two elements, which is cross slope and retaining. So cross slope used to create a drainage gradient, which is allowing water to run off the surface and into a drainage system like a street gutter or ditch. So cross slope bank into super elevation in horizontal curves to reduce steering effect. So for retaining, we will talk about its general requirements. So for retaining structure, the concrete surface should not have crack, damage, and spotting. And for its functionality, the retaining structure should not have sign of distress, sentiment and tension crack, deformation, tilting, and buckling. Okay, now we move to the fourth component, which is bridge and other structure. So it can divide it into two elements, same as slope and retaining structure, which is above ground structure and special structure. So for above ground structure, pedestrian and motorcycle bridge are one of this element. So it allow people to cross a space, a body of water, or a geographical feature. So there are seven simple consideration when designing this type of construction, which is trail width, site conditions, geotechnical analysis, apartment plan, permitting, safety and durability. So for special structure, the underpass road is one of the elements in this component, also known as a subway, which is a tunnel that runs beneath a road or railway and contains a road or pedestrian passageway. That's all from me. Thank you.
Moving on to the next component, which is drainage. So the first element is drain. To prevent water seepage into the pavement layers, the pavement surface should be completely impermeable. Furthermore, both the geometry and texture of the pavement surface should aid in the rapid drainage of water from surface. So next is drain cover. A drain cover is a grating or a cover with holes that is used to cover a water drain. It allows drainage while also preventing larger objects from being flushed down the drain. Other than that, sump is also one of the elements in this component. So the primary function of a sump in a trench is to drain water that collects at the trench bottom. The water will run off the trench bottom and into a sump pit or reservoir, allowing the trench bottom to remain relatively dry and free of water. And last elements is box or pipe culverts. Culverts is a tunnel that encompasses a stream or a small rivulet of water and is located beneath a railway or a tunnel. It serves as a bridge, allowing traffic to pass through. It is usually installed in areas where there is a natural water flow and serve as a flow controller. So the next component is traffic or road furniture. For traffic and road furniture, the first element is road markings. Road markings serve as a psychological barrier as well as a critical component of any types of roads, guiding and controlling traffic. And then next is traffic sign. Drivers and other road users benefits from the information provided by traffic signs. They are rules in place to keep them safe and they help to communicate message to drivers and pedestrians so that order can be maintained and accidents can be avoided. For curb, it is a vertical or sloping member that runs along the edge of a pavement or shoulder to provide strength and protection. And last but not least is delineators. Delineator posts are used to warn pedestrians, motorists, and drivers about work hazards, parking, like traffic control, stripping, and or resurfacing areas and border limits in order to keep people safe and avoid injuries.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Idris Iskandar bin Nasiril, and now I would like to continue for the course of this component. So for the roadworks, there are a few items which is site establishment and general obligation, drainage works, earthwork and pavement layers, bituminous layers and seals, ancillary roadworks, day works, and also tolerance testing and quality control. First, we go to the first item, which is site establishment and general obligation. Okay, site establishment and general obligation, both of them have included under main contract preliminaries, which are elements that cannot be assigned to a particular element, sub-element, or component. So, the average cost for site establishment and general obligation is 772,826 ringgit per kilometer. Next, we go to the drainage works. The road drainage system is divided into two sections, which are dewatering and drainage. So, the removal or rainfall from the road surface is referred to as dewatering, while drainage encompasses all of the main infrastructure features required to keep the road structure dry. And for the average cost, the cost is 470,767 ringgit and 43 cents per kilometer. For the earthworks, earthwork activities are costly and subject to a number of limits due to the significant environmental and social impacts they have on the region surrounding the building site. And the average cost for earthwork is 1,253,239 ringgit 90 cents per kilometer. Next, we go to the bituminous layers. So, bituminous layers or spread seal is impermeable to the water thin coating of binder spray onto a pavement surface with a layer of aggregate integrated. So, there are two different price, which is for the surface dressing. The average cost is 365,548 and 90 cents per kilometer, while for the asphalt wearing costs, the cost is 731,129 ringgit 20 cents per kilometer. For the ancillary roadworks, there are a road furniture that is used to make the flow of the road construction smooth, and a few ancillary roads that have been offered in the catalogue are guardrails, markings, and also landscaping. For the average cost, the cost is 156,632 ringgit and 83 cents per kilometer. For day works is a method of paying a contractor for specific instruction based on the cost of labor, materials, and plant, plus a markup for overhead and profit. It is typically utilized when works cannot be priced normally. And for the average cost for day works, the cost is 40,620 ringgit 21 cent per kilometer. Now we go to the last item, which is tolerance testing and quality control. For the testing, roadworks have several soil tests that must be performed prior to the start of the construction work in order to understand the nature and quality of the quality of the soil. The purposes of soil tests are to analyze the quality of the soil, to determine the moisture content present in the soil, to determine the compaction characteristic of various soil, to find out the strength of the subgrade, and to determine the nature of the soil. And the average cost for this item is 882 ringgit and 82 cents per kilometer.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Syamil Azim, Primo Azmi, and I will continue on to the point of factors influencing the cost of the components within the elements. So the factors that influence the cost are divided into components within the elements of roadwork, which is the road surface and also the slope and the retaining structure. Moving on to the first components, which is the road surface. So asphalt is one of the most cost-effective and cost-efficient paving options. Asphalt may survive for decades if a road, parking lot, or any other surface is adequately paved and the necessary maintenance practice are used. So the quantity of asphalt needed for a certain project can be determined by the length, width, and depth of the prepared site, and higher quantity will result in higher cost. And also the expense of transporting asphalt from the manufacturing plant to the project site are a factor of the cost estimation components that is also influenced by the type of asphalt required. So for example, hot mix asphalt versus warm mix asphalt will make a difference in transport options. Another factor that affects the cost of road surface is the type of the material used, the type of the asphalt used. So the cost of asphalt varies depending on the kind of asphalt used, which includes hot mix, warm mix, porous, perpetual, quiet, and recycled asphalt. So the most common type of asphalt used in roads and pavement are the hot mix. So moving on to the next component, which is the slope and retaining structure. A retaining wall or structure is a structure that holds back any materials, often earth, and keeps it from eroding. Its primary role is to push back against the gravity of the earth behind it. So one of the factors that affect the cost of retaining walls is the size of the retaining walls itself. So the longer, wider and thicker the size of the retaining walls means that more material is needed for construction. It will also take more time to build it and larger and stronger reinforcement for the structure. Next, building a retaining wall necessitate the use of tools, equipment, and building materials. So if getting to the project site is problematic, the worker will have a more difficult time getting everything they need there. Furthermore, if the worker is compelled to transport the equipment and supplies by hand, the cost will go up as well.
My name is Nazir Nazan. So now I will continue with the labor and labor productivity. So when estimating the rate, it is essential to include the labor cost to ensure every cost is included. So there are two main elements in the labor cost that need to be identified when estimating, which is the type of labor and labor productivity. Generally, there are three types of labor, which are general labor, semi-skilled, and skilled labor. For the wage rate, general labor is RM 60 ringgit, semi-skilled RM 75 ringgit, and skilled labor RM 95 ringgit. All of this price is according to the quantity survey online website. So the rate may be different depending on the situation or the contractor. The type of labor involved in the project depend on the work itself, and usually for work, most of the work can be done by the general labor. For labor productivity, the labor productivity can be obtained by dividing the quantity of work produced and time duration. So to get the labor productivity, it is essential to know the amount of work done by the labor and the time duration so that estimation for the labor cost can be done. Lastly, the general formula to get the labor cost is wage rate multiplied by the time duration and labor productivity. The information about the labor is divided according to work that is done through the roadwork construction process. So firstly is the site clearance and formation level. The work could be removing topsoil, bushes, trees, and etc. The site clearance usually do not require skilled labor as it will be performed by the general labor. It can be done by using hand or machinery. For the complex work, usually plants such as bulldozer and tractor shovel are being used. If using plant or machinery, the labor productivity will be higher and reduce time to complete the work. Secondly is the excavation work. The function of excavation work for road work is to provide utilities and services. It also being performed by the general labor, normally with the help of the excavator. When estimating, the QS need to check whether the plan cost including the driver or not. If not included, the QS need to add general labor as the driver when estimate. Next is for the paving work. There are many type of layer and material in work such as asphalt, bituminous, aggregate, scratcheran, and etc. This layer also depend on the type of paving used. There are two types of paving, which are flexible paving and rigid paving. Paving work is generally being performed by a gang of labor. The labor job is in preparing and mixing each layer with the material according to the type of pavement. Plant and machinery are also required for paving work to compact the layer. And lastly is the painting and road marking. Usually it come in a few color and the most familiar one is white and yellow. The job is not too hard to be done with the help of the tools and equipment. So single or just a few general labor are enough to perform this work. Although it did not require much labor, if adding more labor may increase the labor productivity and reduce the time taken to finish the work. So I think that's all from me.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Hazim Nazmi bin Al-Azri. So I'm going to continue the presentation with wastage allocation. The first thing that you must know about wastage allocation in terms of in this industry is that it can be defined as any inefficiency that results in the use of equipment, materials, labor or capital in larger quantities than those considered as necessary in the construction process. So that means, like in simple terms, waste is something that extra during or after construction process. Next, I'm going to move on to the cause of wastage. There are a few things that cause wastage in this industry. The first thing is manpower, which is due to unskilled laborers, lack of supervisions, substandard contractor personnel, and inexperienced field supervisors. The second thing is the professional management. Management causes wastage because of poor planning, poor information distribution, and also lack of coordination among construction stakeholders. The third thing is that causes wastage is design and documentation, which is due to site documentation system that not integrated well and unclear specification on how the construction will be done, a last minute design changes after everything has been drawn on the plan, and also a low quality designs. The second thing about wastage allocation, there has been a study from the Department of Civil Engineering, University of Indonesia. They conducted several studies to identify different types of construction waste and their resources. The result indicates that excess from soil excavation, timber, and reinforcing bars are the most dominant waste produced in a highway construction projects, which also includes the roadworks construction, which mainly caused by the roadworks construction. The next thing, I'm going to continue with the cause of wastage. There are a few more things. The first one is the materials, which is due to low quality materials, a late delivery of materials that not arrive according to schedule, and also improper material handling on site. Second thing is the work execution by the contractor, which cause wastage because of incorrect construction method and also lack of construction equipment and unsuitable equipment. The last but not least is external factors, which is the site condition itself, which causes by bad weather or damage caused by a third party, such as any robbery or burglary on the site. I think that's all from me. I'll pass it on to the next presenter. Thank you.
Next, we go to the example of yield upgrades for two items, which is drainage and also earthwork. Uh, Now we go to the drainage. So the question is, 45 centimeter culvert 10 meters long is being installed. Experience indicates that a small backhoe and operator and two laborers can install 3 culverts per day, and the culvert crew use a flatbed truck to transport themselves and the pipe each day. For the assumption, the rate of backhoe is 250 ringgit 59 cent per hour. For the truck is 50 ringgit 12 cent per hour. For the pipe is 62 ringgit 65 cent per meter, and the rate for the labor is 60 ringgit per hour. A backhoe needs 6 hours to fix 3 culverts, while a truck needs 9 hours to fix 3 culverts. Now we go to the solution to fix 3 culverts. So for the backhoe, for the machine hour is 6 hours. So we time with the machine rate, which is 250 ringgit 59 cent, and the total is 1,403 ringgit 54 cent. Then we go to the truck. So for the truck, the 9 hours is which is the machine hours times with the machine rate, which is 50 ringgit and 12 cent, and we got 451 ringgit 8 cent. For the pipe, we need 30 meter because to fix 3 culvert, uh, 1 culvert is 10 meters, so we times with 3, so we get 30 meter, and then we times with the machine rate, which is 62 ringgit and 65 cent, and we get 1,879 ringgit 50 cent. For the labor, we use 2 labor, and we times with the machine rate of labor, which is 60 ringgit per hour, and we got 1,120 ringgit, and for the total is 3,954 ringgit 12 cent. To get the total cost per kilometer, we have to times with the 1,000 meter and then divide with 30 meter, and we get 131,804 ringgit per kilometer. Next, we go to the earthwork. So the question is a 6.0 meter subgrade on 30% slope with a 151 fill slope and 051 cut slope with 1 foot ditch and a 20% shrinkage factor would be approximately 2,100 bank cubic meter per kilometer for a balanced section. And of an average production rate in common material, which is no rock, from an equipment performance handbook might be 150 bank cubic meter per hour for a 300 horsepower power shift tractor with ripper, and the assumption is the tractor cost is 334 ringgit 12 cents per hour. So to get the total excavate in hour, we'll divide the 150 bank kilometer with 2,100 meter cube per kilometer, and we get 0.07 kilometer per hour. And to get the total cost for excavation, we divide the rate for the tractor, which is 334 ringgit 12 cents, uh, divide with the 0.07 kilometer per hour, and we get 4,773 ringgit 14 cent per kilometer. I think that's all from me. Thank you.
To summarize, the road surface, slope and retaining structure, drainage, bridges and other structures, and traffic or road furniture are all components of roadworks. So, the ultimate goal of a road is to efficiently transport people and goods from one location to another while maintaining a high level of comfort and safety. So, we can see that the cost varies depending on the material used, size of the work site, quantity of the materials needed, transportation options, and many more. So, in case of labor, most of the work is done by the general labor. Skilled labor is less required for road construction compared to other work. So about wastage, the wastage in roadworks has been elaborated above, in which generally consists of usual construction works errors and influenced by the size and duration of the project. From the example of build-up rate, we can see the details in estimating the total cost, like the rate of labor, the machine that contractor use, and also the rate for each machine. That's all from our group. Thank you.